So, continuing on with some miscellaneous notes before we finish things out here. One thing to know about the Boolean is that I'm not a big fan of this detriangulate option. It's going to try to detriangulate polygons to preserve the original topology, but truth be told, a lot of times that creates problems. And so, remember back to those black specks that I mentioned earlier? Those black specks are often caused during this detriangulation process right here. So it's probably a good idea in almost every situation to say no polygons for the detriangulates, unless you have a reason to preserve those quads. But again, it could cause issues, so just watch out for that. What's also a hot topic is normals and how to preserve normals throughout this entire Boolean process, because a lot of times if you go and change these normals at render time, it's a real pain in the butt to try to get those normals back or to smooth them, right? Like if I wanted to just re-smooth the normals on just the top portion of the terrain, that could end up being a bit of a pain to do. So what my recommendation is to preserve the normals throughout the Boolean process as much as possible. That's honestly the best way to go about normals in destruction, as opposed to trying to reapply them later. Because things can get really complicated and you're honestly better off just trying to preserve the normals in the first place, or use a combination of groups and other things to calculate the normals on any new geometry while leaving any old geometry alone. So that's my advice on normals. It's just not really the best road to go down if you can just preserve things along the way. Also, I'd like to just critique my network in general, or the approaches we took here. I wanted to show you a few different techniques that you maybe have never seen before. So, a lot of times I might just end up repeating some of these processes through a digital asset multiple times. And in this case, for the in-between fracture, I probably want to go back and use this trace method again, just because it created a lot of issues with the Boolean and this, specifically pieces with volume that's less than or equal to 0. So, anytime you use a Boolean, it's just going to be a more risky process. Things are more likely to break, but they're also going to look better. So it's kind of a catch-22, right? Which one is going to be better for your situation? So anyway, I just want to let you know that I probably would take a different approach looking back than using this in-between fracture with the trace. It's, I think it still looks really nice. It works right now. But anyway, I just want to mention that if I was to do it again and this was production, I would choose a different path. Maybe something that's just a bit more standard, like using planes to cut through as opposed to this trace right here. Oh yeah, and one thing I forgot to mention is that in that test render I showed you earlier, you'll notice that the smoke popped to an old cache that was happening in our scene. And that's not really good. That's a situation where if you're trying to, let's say, deliver to a client, the last thing you want to do is have your things running off of old caches, right? So like, let's say we change a bunch of stuff here, I forget to cache something, and I'm doing all these tests with an old cache in different settings up here. That is an absolute recipe for disaster, because if you, let's say, have something approved and you no longer know which file has the approved nodes that you used for that particular cache file, it can get messy really, really quickly. So in order to try to prevent yourself from doing that, one approach is to go to the out context and create these geometry sops that are broken up into things that require a sequence, like over here, and things that are just, single geometry files that are cached out. So by doing this, if let's say I want to clean house and just have everything, reset to what everything is doing after I'm done testing at the end of the day, I can just run these chains right here and it'll work just fine. You can also do the same thing in the tasks section here with tops, and that will do the same sort of thing. But anyway, I just want to mention that it's a situation you need to be careful about, just because it's easy to do when you're going through so many different tests and iterations of these things. And so as you're building this out, it's worth doing that. It's also worth considering doing multiple takes for high and low res versions. That's what's going on down here with the switch. I have, let's say, the animated plates as a low version take. So, let's say that's, I'll bring back our main interface here. Let's say that I have a high quality and low quality take. What I can do is I can set settings that I like here for the high and low quality, and I can just copy and paste those settings into the main whenever I want to use them. So I could just copy this take and I can just paste it right here, or basically you can just go ahead and take those settings and make the appropriate overrides for the situation. I didn't go too crazy with the high and low takes in this particular sim. A lot of times you need to have the high quality just to see what pieces are going to do, especially in the in-between section, right? But anyway, I just want to mention that that's another good organizational workflow to go through as you're doing your thing. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this course. If you're interested in taking things further, maybe you're trying to put together a demo reel or something like that, another great thing you can do is add particles to the instance debris. So we can have that. We can also have particles leading in before the volume puffs begin to happen. And so you can make tiny little sand particle simulations in addition to what we just did right here. And you can also find a way to trigger smoke and additional debris when the sidewalls begin collapsing. So if you're watching this, you're looking for a challenge, you're looking to put something together for a demo reel, try going in that direction. Because if you layer those on top of this, then that'll really make for something special. Anyway, thanks for watching the course. If you have any constructive feedback, I'd love to hear it. And also let me know how all of the destruction things go. You could take a lot of these things we just did, turn them into digital assets or little chunks that you just input into your workflow. And that's really the beauty of these manual setups, is that, you can reuse the same techniques over and over again. And so something to think about, something to maybe extract from this course in the future. All right, take care. See ya.